have another album review, and it is by Sebastian Bach. The name of the album is The Child Within the Man, and this is his first album in 10 years. I've been looking forward to listening to this. I've been a fan of Skid Row since they released their first album back in 1989. And this is really a great band, but let me address one thing quickly, and then I'll get into the album. You're probably wondering if Sebastian Bach will ever rejoin Skid Row, given that they are currently without a singer, and this is what I found in my research. Basically, Sebastian Bach is willing to do it. I think he wants to do it, but so many others of the other band are wary about him getting back in the band because he was difficult to work with the last time they were together, which was a long time ago, back in 1996. That's like close to 25 years. But according to Sebastian Bach, he says that it was a long time ago. He made reference to the Metallica movie, Some Kind of Monster, where they got therapy and they found a way to work together. And they claim that Skid Row never had anyone bring them back together. So Sebastian is open to the idea, but I think the rest of the band are not really sure. So I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm not saying that it's very probable. So let's talk about this in the comments section. But with that being said, let's get into the album. So this album opens with Everybody Bleeds. This was one of the singles. They have a music video. It's pretty cool. It shows Sebastian Bach sitting in a chair watching TV, and then there's a fan blowing on him. It kind of reminds me of that old Memorex commercial. And he's watching the news, seeing all these things going on. Basically about how the news tries to divide people, but the message is everybody bleeds, everybody is the same now. Musically, it's very good, heavy rock. I'd say borderline hard rock and heavy metal, similar to what he was doing with his previous band, Skid Row. He still sounds very good. His vocals have not declined over the years, and this was a good way to kick off the album. Next song is called Freedom, and this is one of the album tracks. This one reminded me a lot more of a typical Skid Row song, maybe something from their first album. It had something unique about it. He has a few guest guitarists on this album, and on this particular track, he has John 5. So when you listen to the guitar playing, you can hear some unique styles being used, and I think that made it stand out more. Next is another one of the singles called Hold On to the Dream. When I heard the first few seconds of the song, I thought it was going to be a laid-back classic rock type of track. It sounded like Bad Company at first, but once I heard the song, it picks up its pace, gets a lot heavier. The main guitar riff is really awesome. Almost sounds like a sludgy Alice in Chains type of guitar riff. The song itself has elements of traditional heavy metal and some new metal. I read a comment of someone saying this is what Motley Crue were trying to do but failed. This one also has Rob Affuso on drums, and actually Rob Affuso's on a few tracks, I think. And he was a previous Skid Row drummer, so pretty good track. What If I Got to Lose is another one of the singles, and I thought this was a pretty good track. It's a throwback to the 80s. It has that sleaze rock type of sound. The music video is very 80s as well. There's one scene in the music video, we have women wearing bikinis washing a car, so this was another good track. The next song is called Hard Darkness. This is one of the heavier tracks. Sebastian Bach is using a higher vocal range, and I feel he's trying to go for this Rob Halford type of sound. After that is The Future of Youth. This one brings back that sleazy hard rock sound. Very reminiscent of bands from the late 80s. This track also has Steve Stevens. He used to be the guitar player who played with Billy Idol for a long time. If you know Steve Stevens, he's always been more of a hard rock or metal guitarist, and you can hear that especially in the guitar solo. Next is the song Vendetta, and this one's okay. If I had to pick a weaker track, I'd probably pick this one. It has that new metal or post-grunge type of sound. Some of the guitar riffs are heavy, and Sebastian Bach still sounds very good. I would say one of the weaker tracks, but not really bad. The next track is called FU. This one has Orianthi as guest guitarist. It's another good song. I thought it was a sleazy hard rock type of song leaning towards heavy metal. The guitar solo really stands out. The guitar solo had a neoclassical type of sound. We have another song called Crucify Me, and this is a hard rock song leaning towards heavy metal. Thought it was okay. If I had to pick another weak song, I'd probably pick this one as well, but it was not too bad. The penultimate song is called About to Break. I thought it was a good track. It's more of a rock track. They use clean and distorted guitars. I thought it was one of the stronger songs from the second half of the album. There were a few songs that were weaker on the second half of the album, but this made up for it. I like the clean guitar tone that they don't use a lot throughout this album. I like that. It kind of sounded almost like the band Rush. So that was really good. And then the last song on the album is called To Live Again. It's a power ballad, and the first power ballad that appears in the album. And I'm glad he didn't fill the album with ballads. This sounds like it came from the 80s. It actually sounds like a Motley Crue type of power ballad. I thought it was a really good way to end the album. Now for my final thoughts, I thought it was a pretty good album. I think there were a few tracks in the second half that brought it down a little bit, but I think most of this was pretty good. I think Sebastian Bach has a really great voice. His voice has held up very well, and I like that he brought in some guest guitarists that added a little more flavor to the album. And I like that there was a bit of variety on the album. He didn't try to make a Skid Row replica album. There's some stuff that sounds like Skid Row, some was more hard rock, some was more heavy metal, but overall a good listen. My score is an 8 out of 10. Let me know what you thought of this album. How do you like it? And do you think he will ever rejoin Skid Row? I think it's an interesting conversation to have in the comment section. I'll put another video up. I'll put my most recent review of the last Skid Row album that came out 2 years ago. I'll stick that right there. Please like this video. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe. I do rock and metal reviews, rankings, and more. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.